Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Mic for another week here on ASTV Productions. Behind the Mic for this Friday, August 20th, we're welcoming in Rob Mahon from the Prince Albert Raiders. Rob got the Raiders job earlier this summer and is entering his first season as a play-by-play voice in the Western Hockey League after 4 seasons with the Estevan Bruins in the Saskatchewan Junior League, where he covered a run to the SJHL Finals in 2018. Also has experience in the Manitoba Junior League and as well with the University of Manitoba. So we look forward to chatting with Rob about a number of things. First off, what his summers look like with getting the job in the middle of the summer and transitioning from Estevan up to Prince Albert, and how the team is looking heading into the season here coming up in the fall, and then we'll expand it out to some memories and takeaways from his journey there, and more into some broadcaster shop talk and talking about people and places that have been important to him along the way. So it'll be a fun night talking hockey here in the dog days of August. And before we go to our first break and bring in Rob on the other side to begin our chat, we will remind you that you can find all of our shows here on ASTV Productions at our website, astvproductions.com. You'll see it in the top of the screen there. That's where you'll find our live shows, as well as all of our archives here for Behind the Mic, as well as all of our other shows across the ASTV network and our live game broadcasts. We're also simulcasting on Facebook tonight. We're live tonight on the website and on Facebook. And you can also find further updates on ASTV's Instagram and Twitter channels. So once again, thanks so much for tuning us in and making us part of your Friday night, wherever you've tuned in from. I'm your host, Jonathan Hodson, and on the other side, I'll be joined by our guest this week, Rob Mahon. Thanks for watching Behind the Mic. We'll be right back with Rob. And once again, welcome back to Behind the Mic. Jonathan Hodson back with you, joined now by our guest this week. It's Rob Mahon from the Prince Albert Raiders. Rob, thanks so much for coming in tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jonathan. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we're all good. It's been
excellent. You nailed the pronunciation, by the way. So many people say Mahon right off the top, and you got it right away. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's one of the questions. It should be the first question that an interviewer asked, but glad I got it right. So as we were talking about off the top, it's been an interesting summer for you, transitioning away from Estevan and up to Prince Albert. What's your summer been like?
You know, the first half of it was pretty normal, and then right around July, I started having to arrange moving. It's one of those things that happened very, very quickly. It certainly wasn't something I expected. It wasn't like I was anticipating that Trevor Redden would step down by any means. So when it happened, I kind of had to scramble a bit to get everything ready, get the resume in, and kind of shift gears, because Estevan, of course, is in the midst of preparations for a Centennial Cup. They're still in the midst of preparations for me. Leaving certainly hasn't changed that. And now I come to Prince Albert's, and I'm in the midst of preparing for a different type of season, and one with what looks like it'll be a pretty good team. I'm enjoying the city so far. Getting settled in is still a work in progress because, well, if you've ever moved, you know how that goes. You're in maybe 1 week, but the boxes don't get unpacked for X number of weeks and months. So it'll be a while before we're fully settled, but I'm looking forward to getting to know Prince Albert and the Raiders a little better.
And you mentioned the outgoing voice of the Raiders, Trevor Redden. We should give him a shout out as well. He's one that has been good to me personally in the past as well. So we wish him all the best on his endeavors coming up. And I believe the team's release came out around the end of July that you were going to be filling the seat. And I was wondering, I don't think many broadcasters, play-by-play people have had set yearly routines the last couple of years based on everything that's gone on. But curious, for a hockey broadcaster, do you kind of have a summer routine where you spend a block of time where you like to, get away from hockey, do something else, get the brain off of it for a bit? And did this summer kind of bust that with all the changes?
Actually, I wouldn't say I like to be away from hockey, but I do like to get back to Winnipeg once a summer just to see the family and some old friends that I have there. And the way the transition worked out, I was actually able to still have that. So that was really, really nice. I got to see mom and dad in person for the first time in a long time. The family dog, Lando, was absolutely beside himself as soon as I came in the door, practically didn't let me leave. And I got to see some old friends from Winnipeg that I hadn't seen in person for quite some time. So that was really nice. It was nice to get back to Winnipeg and see the familiar sights, because the next time I'm back in Winnipeg, there's a chance I'm not going to be quite as welcome because I'll be in the visitors.
Yeah, that'll be fun for sure when you go back to call games against the ice. And something you and I were talking about a little bit in the lead up to tonight is you're going to be introduced to a new set of rivalries in the Western Hockey League. And I'm sure, and as time goes on tonight, we'll talk about some of your memories from the Saskatchewan League, but I'm sure you know all about the Raiders and the Saskatoon Blades. Have you been initiated by people in PA about what it means to play the Blades and beat the Blades?
Yeah, I very much get the same sense from people in Prince Albert talking about Saskatoon that I got from people in Estevan talking about Weyburn, and I like that. I was sitting down for lunch with Trevor one of my first days in the city, and the fellow who owned the restaurant we were sitting at comes up to us and just starts talking about the Raiders. And one of the first things that comes up is, what are those games against Saskatoon going like? And he was very enthusiastic about the idea of certain Blades members maybe having a bit of a rough ride. And I thought, this is great, because I remember Estevan having the same reaction to the Weyburn Red Wings that the Raiders fans seem to have to the Saskatoon Blades. So having that rivalry, because you fill the rink at that point when you have come to the game. And that, as a broadcaster, is great to see, because calling a game when you have a packed house just adds to it. The other thing too is the games themselves get really intense. Estevan and Weyburn played some of my favorite games that I've ever personally called, both because of the caliber of hockey and because of the nastiness associated with it. And I'm looking for something similar when the Blades and Raiders meet for the first time. That won't be until November, I don't believe, but it'll be circled on a lot of calendars in both cities.
Absolutely. And the new Western Hockey League season kicks off in October, preseason and camps in September. How much extra homework was there and is there this summer and fall, getting to know your new team?
Well, I can't say it ever feels like work. I'm just going to move it a little closer to my Wi-Fi router here. I can't say it ever feels like work, because I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy getting to know the team a little better. But yeah, there's definitely been more research involved this in years past because with the Bruins, there were always quite a few returning guys, and you had an idea of what they were like. But for me, brand new to the league, so every team is in it to a degree. Obviously, I'm familiar with some names and with some past rivalries from one anecdote or another. But there's a little more homework, and I'm looking forward to get to know the players a little bit and getting to learn who they are off the ice and what kind of people they are as well, because that was the best parts of the job in Estevan.
And you're coming into a situation with the Raiders where they're coming off of a very successful 3-season stretch, including the Western Hockey League title in 2019. And a little bit of a step back as they start to transition a little bit last year, probably with 9 wins in the shortened bubble season. How excited are you to come into and call games for a program that I imagine still has high expectations?
Yeah, the expectations still are really quite high in Prince Albert. And this year's team could kind of go one of two teams. There's definitely a sense that this team could be a lot better than a lot of other teams again because you've got high-end talent guys. I mean, one thing Peter's team that had the trouble record is they got exactly 2 games with Caden Gooley, who's the captain, best defenseman, and probably their best player. So due to injury, he wasn't really a factor in that hub environment. Here, the hope is that he'll be more of a factor, but at the same time, you've also got to reckon with he's probably going to get pretty long look from the Montreal Canadiens. At the very least, I would think he's looking at that 9-game tryout. That's pure speculation on my part. I don't have insider information on that front, but I would guess Montreal, especially with Shea Weber having been hurt, is going to give him a look. When he comes back, will it influence how the Raiders do later on in the year and how strong they are in the early part of the season? And wins in the early part of the season points as those, in like so the Raiders will need some contributions from their other guys. That's the lucky thing that this Raiders decor has a lot of to it. There's a lot of, and I look around and I struggle to think of a team that's an unequivocally better decor Raiders have when you consider some of the returning guys, including another first-round pick and Nolan Allen.
And thinking about it from your perspective, kind of going back to yourself for a minute here, myself coming from a baseball background and thinking about moving up the ladder and what that means kind of in a nuts and bolts technical sense of calling the action, moving up to the major junior level. What's the excitement level there? And is there any kind of difference in hockey broadcasting with moving from junior A to major junior?
I think at the end of the day, it's still a hockey broadcast. I'm still doing fundamentally the same things I was doing the Estevan Bruins. The difference in the pace of play. The Western Hockey League games I've seen, it's noticeably faster. And that's kind of the excitement for me because I am, as you probably noticed, a fast tucker. And when it comes to doing play-by-play, that carries right and a very fast-paced call. So having a faster pace of game to call is just adding to the excitement for me. And there is a lot of excitement. I mean, there's kind of that element of, hey, there's 22 guys in the Western League who do what I do. And I'm now one of that group of 2. And that's an incredible feat. It's something that I've definitely wanted for a long time. I remember going to a WM game not long after I started broadcasting. This would have been 2018 when the Brandon Wheat Kings were playing the Kelowna in the WHL final. And I remember watching this game and thinking, if I can call this level, I'll be thrilled. This is so much fun to watch. It'd be so much fun to be part of in a closer sense. And it's been a goal of mine since then, and to have finally achieved it.
And you mentioned the fact that there's only 22 individuals that hold that seat in the Western League, and it's like that at every level. You go up, and you talk about the pro level, the major league levels, and there's only roughly about 30 people that hold that seat in every league. And you and I have talked in the past about some of the other individuals who are holding seats for other teams. Who are some of the other people, the other broadcasters in the league that you look to, and do you guys kind of help each other out?
Well, when I think back on WHL broadcasters who've helped me a lot, and I know he's helped you as we throw a plug here for Les Lazaruk in Saskatoon, because when I was still a relatively young play-by-play guy, I saw Les's way for him to air check, and he gave me some to work away. Other guys like Rod Peterson, James Gallo, they've been really helpful. A guy who I don't know about, a lot of Western fans might not, but Mike Stubbs, the play-by-play voice on the Knights, is someone that I would recommend any young play-by-play guy in touch with, because Mike was such a gem when I was dealing with him. He gave me the most detailed and well thought out I've ever had on my call in my life, and there was stuff in there that, okay, I can put this into action right away. This is good advice, and I can make good use of this. And throughout, he's been in that sense. I don't think, looking back, it strikes me that I don't think there's ever been a play-by-play guy at any level that's been less than supportive. It's great. If you want to talk about really nice people, one of the first professionals I ever met was Chris Cuthbert, and I met him when I was working interning with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And when Chris found out I was a play guy, he came back into my area of the press box and gave me a hand-drawn game sheet of his that I still have to this day. And I've never heard a bad word said about Chris Cuthbert. I don't think I ever will. And yeah, that stuck with me. The community in general has just been really welcoming.
Yeah, and that's a really cool story about Chris. And yeah, that feeling is kind of where this show came from. Really at the very start of COVID, having myself having a phone call with Peter Labardius, and we were just talking about taking the extra time to check in and reestablish relationships with people, and that's where the idea of just going around talking to my broadcasting contacts and making new contacts. So that's where this show came from, and I've had the opportunity to meet Chris once myself, and you mentioned Rod Peterson earlier, and that's another one who I'm honored to call a friend. And I was attending a Riders BC Lions game with Rod, and we're in the hallway at BC Place behind the booths, and he just says, "Hey, you want to meet Chris?" Like, what? And next thing we know, we're in the back of the TSN booth, and I'm just trying to be a fly on the wall while the two of them were going at it. But yeah, definitely concur with you that there's nothing quite like the broadcaster fraternity.
It's a brotherhood, no question about it. At the end of the day, I mean, you talk about how few, but even at the junior A level, there aren't that many. I think when you get a community, you got to stick together.
Absolutely. All right, we got to take our first break here. But we'll be back on the other side with more with Rob Mahon, and we'll get into a little bit deeper into his story and maybe some stories and takeaways from his time with the Estevan Bruins. Thanks so much for watching Behind the Mic here on ASTV Productions. We'll be right back after this break. Back here on Behind the Mic on ASTV Productions, Jonathan Hodson back with you in conversation this week with Rob Mahon, the play-by-play voice of the Prince Albert Raiders. Had a good time in that first block talking about his introduction to Prince Albert, getting ready for his first season as the voice of the Raiders in the Western Hockey League. I wanted to talk a little bit more here in block number 2, Rob, about your 4 years in Estevan as the voice of the Bruins. As you were talking in that first block a little bit about the broadcasters, I imagine 4 years in the barns and in the towns of the SJ was left some great memories and some great stories. And sorry about that. Might have to troubleshoot here for a minute. Having a little bit of trouble hearing on my end right after that question about the SJ stories. So we'll work on that here for a minute. Apologies about the delay. We're just troubleshooting the audio difficulties on the one side, having trouble hearing. Rob, there you are. How we doing? All right, can you hear me? Yeah. Tell you what, we will take our second break early here while I take a look at something and make one more attempt at trying to help rectify the audio glitch here for a second. So I will put us to our second commercial here a little bit early, and hopefully we can have a chance to reset and hopefully get underway here in a minute.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
And back here on Behind the Mic, apologies about the slowdown a little bit here, but we're efforting to resolve the audio issues on one side and hopefully get things back underway here in a second. In conversation with Rob Mahon from the Prince Albert Raiders, talking WHL Raiders and his time with the Saskatchewan Junior League's Estevan Bruins. Rob, we're back online. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, I can hear you. Glad,
there we go. Now
glad we could.
All it took was a off and.
Yep, exactly. Glad to have you back and that we could rectify that. So I think now that we took our next break early, we'll go straight through here. So we'll just do two blocks. So we'll just go straight through with the rest of our conversation now. But when we left off, I had just asked you a question about your time, your takeaways and your memories and your stories from the Saskatchewan Junior League, with 4 years as the voice of the Estevan Bruins. What stood out to you from your time in Estevan?
You know, when I think back to the time at Estevan, I was saying kind of when the mic started. I don't know anything here. Undo two things. That'll make the Wi-Fi a little bit more cooperative, hopefully. I was every young broadcaster the good fortune that I had to go to. A, crazy about the team, and B, super welcoming. Like, I would recommend Estevan to any broadcaster trying to get into the certain way I did. In fact, I did recommend Estevan to a broadcaster recently, a fellow who I used to work with by the name of Nolan Cole. He's going to be the newest voice of the Estevan Bruins for their Centennial Cup year. I'm sure he's going to do a great job there. I'm looking forward to seeing how that year plays out. But I just had so many great memories in that city over 4 years. There's some smaller communities where you can spend 10 years and still feel like the 4 years in Estevan, I definitely felt like part of the community, and it's the people there that really made that happen. And again, they throw their weight behind that team. I mean, I got spoiled. I got the color run the SHL finals right away, and they turned that into a Bruins town in no time flat. And that run to the finals is etched in my memory, and for reasons that will be probably forever.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that finals run, 2018. The Bruins go to the SJ final. Was not having not been a hardcore follower of the SJ at the time myself. Was that expected coming into the year, or did that kind of build and you guys realized what you had as the year went on? Kind of what was the trajectory of that season like?
You know, at the start of the year, the team would be good. There were a lot of 20-year-olds and returning 19-year-olds who had really strong rookie seasons. So I think there was an expectation, yes, that the team would be good. I don't know if a lot of fans expected the finals. Battleford's and Nipawin had outstanding regular seasons. And Melfort and Humboldt were hard charging at the time. But the Bruins had the kind of second teams that don't lose very many games during the season. They went on an incredible run. A lot of guys got hot at the right time. And the one big piece of the puzzle that came together at the minute, the goaltender by the name of Bo Deider that the Bruins acquired from the BCHL. And Bo had he had his ups in the BCHL, but when he came to the SA, the promise that he'd showed younger in his career came rushing back. He was outstanding right from the go, and I won't say he carried the Bruins in the playoffs because that's not accurate. The Bruins scored a lot of goals. It went 6-2. I don't think it can be said that your goaltender carried you, but Bo made a lot of really big saves and really helped be the final piece of the puzzle for the Bruins team that pushed them over the top. And really losing in Game 7, that was just a case of two really good teams playing each other, and somebody had to lose. 11-game series where Game 7 is decided by a single goal, and that goal came on a 5-on-3 man advantage. It could not have been closer. So the Bruins probably deserved a championship. That's not a slight on the Hawks. They, honest to goodness, deserved one too. Banner to short.
And in your for yourself in your 4 years there, how much? Obviously, that was in broadcaster terms a fairly quick ascent for yourself to the WHL. Many great broadcasters have spent a lot longer at the junior A level. How much do you think you grew as a broadcaster and as a professional in your 4 years there?
Well, I like to think a lot. It's funny, the Bruins put a highlight video of the calls I made during my time with the team. And some of them were my very first year playoff run. Others were, a little more recent. And I think even from that first year to the second year, you can hear a difference. I feel I can. And over 4 years, a little bit better every year. And by the time you get to year 4, hopefully you're at a point where you're at your job. At least the fans and Estevan always made like I was. So I think I got into a pretty good place by the end there.
Now, was that your first time covering a team every day, wire to wire? I think you had some time in the Manitoba Junior League. Had you been the voice of a team prior to that?
Not really. I had worked with the Manitoba Bisons through a creative communications program at Red River College, so I had voice in that sense. But the Bisons team had voices on the webcast and voices on the radio, so they only played 14 games a year at home, and my broadcast partner Cole and I weren't traveling with team at the time. So I wouldn't have said I was the voice of that team in the same sense that I was of the Estevan Bruins. I wasn't bringing the road game to the fans of Fleming, but I did a lot of fun calling that game. And one thing most people don't appreciate about U Sports is just how fast it is. Like that is quick hockey. The 3 and 24-year-olds who most of them have major careers, and most who didn't all-stars at the junior A level. So you're dealing with very quick hockey there, to the point where they would beat Division I teams from time to time. And when Alberta would come to town, the Golden Bears, those guys were WHL all-stars. You had guys who had put up 50, 60, 70, 90 plus points playing in the Western Hockey League, and they were at this point, rather than being 17 or 18, they were 22 and 23 years old. So I got to see some pretty good hockey, the Bisons, and I think working for them helped me a lot.
Yeah, definitely agree with your thoughts there on U Sports. That level of hockey just didn't seem to get the level of attention, fanfare, and respect that it probably merits with a lot of WHL stars moving on to play there as well. So I definitely agree with that. We've talked a little bit, Rob, about a little bit about your background, but I wanted to get into a little bit of broadcaster shop talk with you, and just kind of take it way back to when you were just a pure fan of sports, of hockey, and kind of go into what got you started, what gave you the inkling that going behind the mic might be for you.
The first time I really realized it was a career possibility was probably the first time I did it for the Manitoba women's team. That was 2014, and I got behind the mic, and it was just a little exercise for fun that I was doing in my living room. It was like, oh my goodness, this is an actual hockey game, and I might actually be able to. But the first time I tried hockey broadcasting, we trip to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I can't have been older than 8 or 9. And an exhibit there. This was not long after Team Canada had just won the Olympic gold medal in 50 years. And they had a little exhibit there where you could dub your voice over Joe Sakic's 5-2 goal, just still one of my favorite goals of all time. And I gave that a try, and I really liked it. So going back to that Hall of Fame exhibit, those, I don't know that they do. I haven't looked, but somewhere in that hockey, I might just be my voice doing a horrible impression of Bob Cole on Sakic's 5-2 goal against the United States.
That's really cool. And you bring up, of course, one of the all-time greats in Bob Cole. But as that kid who's starting to get the thoughts about doing this, who are some of the broadcasters that you listen to and either enjoyed just as a fan, or maybe took something from, or tried to fashion something you do after them?
Well, we've talked about Cuthbert. He's still the man on top for my money. He's still the best of the best. But I feel very fortunate that I was growing up in an era where Bob Cole was still very much the guy on Hockey Night in Canada. What generation I grew up in by saying this, but I'm from that generation that, a kid, one year you had like 2 channels on the TV, and then 5 years down the line you had cable, and then those years where CBD was really the only place you could get hockey games on a Saturday night. Bob Cole was the voice of Saturday night, and he was incredible at it. And he's definitely the gold standard. Get into this would have been Christmas, probably 2002. I guess a year after I really started getting into hockey. I watched first ever World, and I had never seen them before. And I was blown away by the pace of it, the intensity of it, the excitement of it, because junior hockey, as I always tell people, it's young men. They're going to make mistakes. They're part of what makes the game fun. So when I saw the World Juniors for the first time, I associated all that excitement with the voice of Gord Miller. And he does such an amazing job today. He is, I think, the only guy I would listen to call a World Junior game. He's incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Was there ever anything besides hockey for you? Were you once upon a time ever a baseball guy or a basketball guy? Has there been a second sport for you?
Probably the closest I've ever come to having a second sport is golf. It's probably the one I've spent the most time with over the last few years. I used to play baseball every now and then, the diamonds with some friends of mine. That was about as close as I ever got. But basketball, I can tell you, not in my skill set or repertoire at all. Shooting, nope. Running, nope. I was never a basketball guy. across the board. So it wasn't really a sport that I found myself attracted to. And part of the basketball season falls right in the middle of the season. So if I'm watching something on TV on a Saturday night or a Friday night, it's probably get up before it's anything else.
And you bring up golf there at the start of that last response, and that's an interesting one for me that I've heard before from other broadcasters and other athletes of particularly of action sports and contact sports. How much of a difference is the experience of a round of golf from a night and packed into an SJ barn, or pretty soon the barn up in Prince Albert, and the atmosphere that goes around doing junior hockey? How much of a refresh is getting out on the course and shooting a round of golf?
You know, I'm pretty sure golf is supposed to be more peaceful than hockey, but not the way I play it. I'm good at golf, so everyone around me is going to be aware of where I am at all times. They might have to duck, and I do enjoy getting out on the course. I've just the element of getting out with friends and family, 4 hours, and I've gotten better at golf. The ball generally goes forward when I hit it, which is a major up from what has been in years past, but it's just more about doing with at that point. It's 4 hours with friends or family, and you get out for a walk. If the day's nice, there's some beautiful courses here in Prince Albert that I'm going to have to make sure I check out. In fact, I think I'm going to go on Monday. As soon as I told people I was coming up here, one of the first things about Prince Albert was you got to go to Cook Municipal Golf Course. That's the spot. The nicest ones in the bus. You won't regret it, and I think I've got to make time for that spot.
Beautiful. And as we start to try to wrap a bow on the show here, for another week, you've gone from having gone around the SJ a few times, and now you're the rookie in the Western Hockey League. What's the most exciting part of this for you? And is there anything that you think might challenge you as you step into the dub?
I suspect every game will be a challenge in its own way. It's a new level of hockey, be faster paced. They're going to be in different environments, and I think there will be challenge in that sense. But they're challenges in that they're exciting. Everything about this is exciting to me. I mean, going to sum up, I worked in junior. I was working with players who aspired to play in the NCAA. For the most part, there were obviously some guys coming back from major junior for whom that wasn't an option, and I certainly wish everyone's come through Estevan best in making it. But when you come to the Western Hockey League, one of the things I love about major junior hockey is you're dealing with players who are trying their aspiration is to make the end, and it does make for a difference, I think, in quality of play and in terms of the speed of play. And someone who's a little smug about their knowledge of junior hockey, a guy who likes to be the guy that his friends come to on draft day, going, "Hey, my team just drafted this player. Is he any good?" A guy that has the answer. And now I've got a chance to see these players up close, in person, every game, doing what I love while I'm doing it. This is, in a lot of ways, the perfect fit for me because I get to stroke my ego.
So and I like that point about you talking about the players, and as you level up, you're dealing with more and more players who have legitimate aspirations to the highest level. Is that where it's at for you? Is that is the NHL someday? Is that what you're shooting for?
That'll be had to guess, and based on the other broadcasters in the Western Hockey League, this is a level you can stay at for the rest of your life and be very happy doing it. And because of how much I love junior hockey, that might well be me. I might be one of those people that decides this is the kind of hockey I want to call for the rest of my life. I think if you would have told 7-year-old me that he would have to call a game in the NHL, I think he would have literally jumped. And 28-year-old me might not be too far behind. So if an opportunity up, I would be a fool not to look at it. Right now, I'm enjoying junior hockey so much that I haven't given a lot of thought to that.
Now, that's a great outlook to have. Just do the best with where you're at and enjoy it. And I personally, I definitely share your love for junior hockey. I'm somebody who kind of accidentally became a junior hockey bug. Long lifetime baseball guy, introduced to the WHL through friends, and developed a passion for it, and now have some endeavors to try to make it stick. So I share your thoughts on that for sure. But before we let you go here, Rob, I need to give you a chance to let people know where they can find you and where they're going to be able to find the Raiders games this fall.
Yeah, so those broadcasts will come through on 900 CKBI. It's a Jim Pattison radio station in Salbert. You'll also work on those as well, and I'm looking forward to that. If I haven't bored you to tears and you want to check out my tweets on Twitter, EXP, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people and meeting a lot of new people, and hopefully having some people enjoy my work during the WHL regular season.
We will, for sure. We'll check out your calls when the puck drops this fall. And hopefully when the WHL returns to full travel, hopefully next year, cross our fingers, it would be my pleasure and honor to connect with you in person out here in Victoria.
I'd love to get up to Victoria for a lot of reasons. Just one more to add to the list. If I'm out, I'll for sure have the class with you.
Absolutely. All right, Rob, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on Behind the Mic this evening. Always a pleasure to connect with a new friend in the broadcasting world and in junior hockey, and hear some of your stories about your time in the game and your time behind the mic. Thanks for doing this, and don't be a stranger going forward.
Absolutely. Hey, Jonathan, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out and giving me a chance to a little bit, and to hopefully somebody.
Sounds great. All right, we're going to take our final break here on Behind the Mic. Rob, thanks so much for stopping by. We'll say goodbye to Rob, and I'll be back to wrap up the show here for another week on Behind the Mic on ASTV Productions. And once again, welcome back one more time to Behind the Mic here on ASTV Productions. Jonathan Hodson back with you to wrap up another week. Had a great time this week chatting with Rob Mahon, the rookie broadcaster, play-by-play broadcaster for the Prince Albert Raiders in the Western Hockey League, taking over for the outgoing Trevor Redden. Rob, the former play-by-play voice of the Estevan Bruins in the Saskatchewan Junior League. Great to get some of his stories from the SJ and some of his thoughts going into his first campaign calling games and the dub. So thanks to him for stopping by, and thanks to you once again for making us part of your Friday night, wherever you've tuned us in from, here on astvproductions.com and across the network on Facebook. Before we go, we will let you know once again to check us out on the website. That's where you'll find all of our shows live and our past shows behind the mic, all of our other shows across the network, and our live game broadcasts. And we simulcast on Facebook, and you can find our Twitter and Instagram updates as well. So next week we'll be back again with you, same time, same place, here for Behind the Mic with another chat with another great sportscaster. And earlier in the week on our social channels, you'll be able to find out who our guest is. So once again, for spending an hour of your Friday night with us, thank you, and we'll talk to you again next week.